Welcome guys to the HTML tutorial. In this tutorial we are going to start with HTML5 features. Till we have already learned how to design HTML forms and simple we have designed one HTML forms as well. Okay, so in earlier session we have created username, password, confirm password, gender and city field. Now in HTML5 we need to know what's new in this and what the things we can apply in this particular form. So let's begin. So what's new in HTML5? HTML5 added three things. One, attributes, second, types, and third is tags. So in this tutorial series, we'll start with attributes added in HTML5. So I'm going to cover required attribute, pattern attribute, placeholder, mean, and max. So let's begin first with required attribute. Now, as the name suggested, required means what? The mandatory fields. So for example, username is required in my form. So how to make it required? So in the input type text, after this we need to add attribute required. So I will apply required attribute. I will save the changes. Now if you look output, I'll refresh my page. Now if I click on register button directly, it will prompt me the message, please fill out this field. That means what? Now username is required in my form. Now notice one thing, when you are going to use attributes, make sure that you have added form tag and you should have input type submit button. Until unless you don't have input type submit button and form tag, it is not going to work your attributes. Okay, so simple example, required. So again, if I want password is required, I will copy the attribute, I will paste it in password field. Now in our example, username and password is required. So I'll save the changes, we'll move on to the form, I'll refresh my page. Now if I click on registered button, it will say please fill out this field, means username is mandatory. Now if I add a name, now if I click on register button, now it will say please fill out this field, means again password is now mandatory. So in this way we can apply a required attribute to make your fields mandatory in your forms. Okay, now second we'll move on to the pattern. Now pattern is what? It is basically used for a password. So I want to make some validation with password. So if user is entering password, there should be some criteria, right? In general nowadays also, if you see, password should have at least one uppercase letter, one lowercase letter, one decimal number. Such patterns is there. Now how to apply such pattern in password with using pattern attribute? So I'll just add it. So watch it carefully. We'll say pattern equals to, in double quotes we'll set the pattern. What pattern we need to apply? That should be in round bracket. Now I will say here question mark equals to dot star slash d. Now the purpose of this syntax is, question mark means user password, equals to means should match with dot star, star indicates anything, should be between this. So slash d stands for decimal number, means your password should have at least one decimal number. Similarly we'll repeat for alphabets. So question mark should equals to dot star means user password should match with anything, that is star, that anything is square bracket. Now I will say capital A to capital Z. That means what? Your password should contains at least one uppercase letter from A to Z. Similarly I want pattern for lowercase. So we'll repeat the same, question mark equals to dot star and it should be between small a to z. That means what? Now we have applied three different criteria. Password should have at least one decimal number, password should have at least one uppercase letter, and password should have at least one lowercase letter. Now after this you can apply length of the password as well. For that you need to say dot. After this you will say curly bracket open close. In this you will specify two parameters, minimum length and maximum length. For example, I will say 5 is a minimum length, comma 30 is a max length. Now if I save this pattern, if you look output in browser, now I'll refresh the page again. I will put the name, suppose in this case Amol. Now if I say password, if I only enter 123, if I click on registered, it will prompt the message, please match the requested format. So format you can specify here as well in a label that these are the patterns that you need to match. Okay, so again I will complete the match format, right? So I have added some uppercase later, lowercase later, and password is in between the given range. Now if I click on register, it will accept my password. Okay, so this is the way that you can apply pattern in your web page for a particular password field. Now notice one thing, if you don't want that there should not be any max length for your password, you can remove the uppercase value, but make sure that you will keep this comma. So this comma indicates there is a second parameter, but there is no any specific value given. So any number of length can be accepted from the password. If you remove the comma as well, this indicates exact password should be of 5 digits. So such a criteria we can't keep for user to create its password, therefore we need to say comma. Okay, next we'll move on to minimum and maximum. So for that I will add one more column. For this I will take help of this row. So I will copy the row, start tag to end tag, copy, I will paste it below. Okay, now here I will say I want to accept age from user. So I will keep age, input type I will keep as number, name is age. Now I want to accept a value between a particular range, so I can specify your mean equals to 18 and max equals to suppose 65. This is the value that I have added. That means what, when user enter the age, it should be between 18 to 65. Now let's check with this, save the changes, look in the browser. Now we added one field age. I will make this field first. Now if you try to start with numbers, so notice this, it starts from 18 because we have started mean value is 18. If you increment it, it will increment by 1. Now if you are adding something manually, for example 100, so I need to match with pattern as well. Now if I click on registered, it will say value must be less than or equals to 65. That the criteria that we have suggested for the age, right? So in this way we can apply mean and max attribute, right? Now similarly we'll move on to a next attribute called placeholder. Now placeholder works as extra information for the user that will be placed inside the text box. So for example username, so what will be the username that I want to specify inside the text box, or extra information that I want to specify inside the text box, I can use placeholder as an attribute. So after this I'll just add one space, then I will say placeholder equals to, in double quotes I can specify the value. For example, enter your name, save the changes, and if you check the output you will see the placeholder. Okay, next remaining input types we will be cover in next session. So please watching the next tutorial series as well. Thank you for watching.